From the mid-20th century, during a time of challenges and hopeful rebuilding, from an alliance of shared passion, Rex was born, persevering through decades, sustained by faith, emboldened by vision. Rex has become a tradition of service to the nation. With its first publications, Rex pledged itself to a more proactive role in education. As evolving education required new tools and services, so did Rex expand. In the dawn of the 21st century, when education is demanded to foster learning in all forms, learning within and beyond the walls of institutions, for sustaining today for the future. We are championing education. We are now Rex Education.
Welcome to the second webinar series of Edukampyon. This webinar series has come about through a partnership between Rex Education and the Ateneo de Manila Science and Art of Learning and Teaching Institute, or the Ateneo SALT Institute, and the Ateneo Teacher Center. How time flies. February has come and gone, and I would like to welcome you to the fourth of our webinar series, the first for the month of March. I'm your moderator again today. I'm Rita Atienza, Director of the Ateneo Teacher Center. The Ateneo Teacher Center has offered summer Turo Guro seminar workshops for basic education teachers. We are also on radio every weekday evening for Radio Turo Guro. The ATC is a center of the SALT Institute. SALT seeks to promote innovations in learning and teaching, especially those that help address challenges the nation faces in education, like how to prepare the students for an uncertain future and how we can teach effectively in remote learning. We are very happy to partner with Rex Education in bringing this webinar series to you. Edukampyon is Rex Education's ongoing initiative for the promotion of the Filipino whole learner. Edukampyon engages and empowers education duty bearers that they may better respect, protect, and fulfill every Filipino learner's right to quality education. The second Edukampyon Webinar Series on Learner Agency is designed to build capacities for making our learners champions of their own learning. The series consists of 12 webinars, which started last February 13 and will run until May 15, 2021. Our webinar series started by exploring the psychological basis for learner agency. We have seen that one facet of learner agency, which we are defining as the power to act, is to first believe in oneself. Dr. Cara Fernandez last Feb 13 talked about how students can be motivated to achieve by their own interests, passions, and what brings them joy, and to believe that they can achieve their goals with hard work and persistence. Ms. Je Ching focused on how relationships of trust, care, and respect form the foundation for students to believe in themselves and feel that, yes, they can learn and they can achieve their dreams. Last Saturday, we moved to another facet of learner agency, having the power to act by having intention. That is, not only believing in themselves, but starting to take steps to actually work towards their dream. Dr. Martin talked about learner agency issues in higher education. Today, we focus on what happens if students believe they can achieve their goals and dreams and actually act to make these dreams happen. For example, going to college, even amidst adverse conditions. But when young people achieve the first step of their dreams, for example, getting a scholarship to their college of first choice and course of first choice, schools sometimes withhold or lack support structures to scaffold them until they're ready to fend totally for themselves. What support structures are these, and how do we put these in place? Actually, our speaker today has brought along some very special guests to help her talk about this important topic. Let me first introduce our speaker today, who will enlighten us on this topic, and she will introduce our other guests in the course of her talk. Mrs. Solvie Nubla-Lee is the director of the Pathways to Higher Education program, an education reform program of the Ateneo de Manila University that identifies high potential but financially underprivileged public school students and equips them with the necessary academic and formative skills to access quality higher education and become discerning and ethical young leaders committed to excellence and service to society. So we are very excited to have you with us. Welcome to Mrs. Solvie Nubla-Lee. Welcome, Solvie.
Yes. Hello.
Hi. So we're very excited to hear about how Pathways is supporting students so that they can further build their agency. So you can take it away, Solvie.
Yes. Let me just share my screen, which I think is it already
Yes.
showing? Okay, great. So good morning, everyone. Magandang umaga. I see that we have guests from everywhere, even Qatar, all over the Philippines and even abroad. No, so thank you very much for joining us on this Saturday morning, and of course, thank you to Rex Education for inviting me to share about our experience in Pathways. Okay, now so today we'll try to better understand the Filipino students' context, and of course, I'll share what we've done in Pathways and share the impact as well with all of you. I'm grateful that we have some alumni who were able to join me directly from their experience, speak from the horse's mouth, no, so to speak. And then I'll end with maybe a reflection question that can jumpstart our conversation in the Q&A portion. No? Okay, so first, let me define what learner agency is as far as Pathways is concerned. No, so for us, we feel that it's really giving students a voice and a choice in what and how they learn. No, it's really equipping them in this very complicated world that we have now. It's really equipping our students with the ability to know when to learn, when to relearn something, and also when to unlearn something, no, to become successful or to to make a project successful. And it really focuses on proactive learning. In fact, from the beginning, when we were just conceptualizing the program, and we started thinking, okay, so what do we call our the students that we serve? We were very conscious in opting for participants, now to call them participants, even when it's a mouthful, and also because the easier term to understand and the more popular one was really beneficiary. But we felt that participants would convey better what we want our students to be, right? For them to take an active role in their development in Pathways. No, so that's what learner agency is for us. The other big word in the title is really adverse, no? And of course, when we look it up in the dictionary, it really just means unfavorable, harmful, preventing success or development. And given that definition of adverse, we in Pathways, and I think for all of us who are in the education sector, we already know this, no, that the Filipino student was already in adverse conditions even before 2020. So although we might think of this pandemic as the adverse situation, uh, it really just magnified what was already a bad situation, made even worse for the typical Filipino student. And when we talk about the Filipino student here, we're of course referring to the majority of whom study in the public schools, but of course to some degree, some private school students might be able to relate as well. In 2018, the Philippines joined the PISA, no, the Program for International Student Assessment. PISA is a worldwide study conducted every 3 years where they test 15-year-olds across 79 countries, and they really try to measure 21st century skills. Basically showing if a student is prepared for the real world, no, so to speak. It focuses primarily on measuring cognition and problem solving. It was the first time that the Philippines joined PISA, and it was the first time the Philippines joined an international assessment again after 17 years, no? Which we were so excited about, that finally, we're benchmarking against our global neighbors, and we would have data that could hopefully start the conversations and actions going here in our country, no? And I think PISA, the 28 PISA results, which came out in December 2019, sums it up for us, no? That the Filipino student is not doing well academically. Out of 79 countries, we ranked in the 70s, no, in math and science. So, of course, 70s in grade usually is pasang-awa, but this is super bagsak, right? And of course, we ranked dead last in reading, no? So 79th out of 79 countries. Apart from reading, math, and science, PISA also measures confidence and growth mindset. And as expected, the Filipino student also did not fare well. He suffers from low self-confidence and low growth mindset. 72% of the participants in the survey, in the test, agree with the statement that they're afraid of failing and that they worry about what other people will think. Almost 70% agreed with the statement, your intelligence is something about you that you can't change very much. For those of you who attended Dr. Cara Fernandez's talk a few weeks ago, or even read Dr. Carol Dweck's study on the growth mindset, we know that this is false, right? As educators, we know this. Intelligence, as well as any skill, can be developed. And yet 70% of those who participated felt differently. So clearly, we really have our work cut out for us. So these are foundational skills that really need to be addressed in the earlier years. And we see that government and private sector are starting to work together here. But what we're wondering is, what do we do with the kids who already show some degree of growth mindset and are midway through their education and have managed to make it through? We know definitely that financial constraints are a given. And now PISA has shown us additional gaps in aptitude, but also in attitude. No, the low confidence and low growth mindset are big mental hurdles. No, for high achieving but low income students from the public schools who show potential, we also saw an additional gap, which is that the Filipino student is really unable to access higher education, primarily because they don't have the information, but also they're not academically equipped. While private schools usually facilitate batch processing for their students to apply in the different colleges, public schools are pretty much left on their own. When we first started in 2002 and internet was not that accessible yet, there were no smartphones, many of the students in the public schools weren't even aware of the application season. No, they would usually wait till March to apply, and by then, application in the big schools like UP, Ateneo, and LaSalle would already long be over by then. Private schools actively organize career and college days where their students can get familiar with their options, while public schools don't usually have this. For private schools, there are intentional activities that happen as early as, grade school, just to get the students to start thinking and planning about their future. Unfortunately, in the public schools, we don't have that kind of intentional services, no, because really it's just, as we all know, public schools are really just too overwhelmed already with all the things that they need to do. In spite of these gaps, we've seen and we've met public school students who are highly motivated and highly achieving students, no, who have a real thirst for learning, and they've gotten this far. So, what do you think we can do to help them? You can put it on the chat box. What do you think we can do to help them get over these hurdles? Many of you will probably say scholarships. Kailangan bigyan ng scholarship, no? And it's true that scholarships and financial aid help greatly, no? But here is the first realization we have in Pathways, no? And we learned it early on, that scholarships alone will not address the problem. Don't get me wrong, no? Money is still a major issue and definitely will help, but money alone will not completely solve it. As the former university president of Ateneo, Father Ben Nebres, has said countless of times, you know, putting more money in public education won't solve the problem, or at least it won't solve it immediately. No, there are other aspects that need to be addressed for the scholars to even access higher education. Remember that the problems are, academic, attitude, and access. The financial aspect only comes in, yes, maybe during the application, if you need to pay for the application forms, but it really comes in during enrollment already, right? When you have to deal with tuition, miscellaneous fees, and other incidentals. But before all that, they need to get accepted first, right? They need to apply and they need to be able to pass these entrance exams. And because financial is a concern, they also need to pass additional screenings, right, for scholarship. These are interviews, essays, and additional requirements. And scholarships really only come into play after all of those have been addressed. So low-income students really face very high hurdles that can no longer be addressed by traditional financial aid alone. And this is the gap that Pathways aspires to fill, no? When we started, we realized, and I think to this day, we realized that most scholarships and scholarship giving bodies coordinate with the colleges, meaning to say that they give the scholarship to the college and basically leave it to the colleges to match the students with the grants. No, the problem with that is that, of course, the colleges will rely on the students who are able to apply to them and who are able to get accepted in their schools. High schools, on the other hand, of course, are more focused on graduating the kids already, and don't really actively measure college placements. No, so what about the students who fall through the cracks between high school and college? Who monitors what happens to them? And there lies the gap. No one is really monitoring and ensuring that these kids who have that potential actually get to college. And there was really not much data there. When Pathways started looking at the whole education sector, we saw that despite all the problems in public education, we had students who had this potential, but they were often overlooked because they were already okay. It's really a complicated situation for government. No, I often use the analogy of a mother with 10 children. She can't possibly take care of all 10 and give equal attention to all 10. That's impossible. So what happens, right? She will naturally turn her attention to the ones that need her the most, either the sickest child or the naughtiest, maybe, no, the ones who are doing well are pretty much left to their own devices. And this is what we call in Pathways reverse marginalization. That precisely because they're doing well, the sad fact is they're overlooked. No, there are not that many programs out there to develop them as well. And we strongly feel that these are the students who are almost there at the finish line. With just a little more support, they can already be productive citizens. No? Konting push na lang. But they're not attended to at the moment. So what do we do? No, we definitely want to prepare them academically, so they undergo college entrance test reviews, and to level up their academic aptitude. We also provide them workshops on interview skills and essay writing, really to develop the skill, but also their confidence when they meet the admissions or scholarship officers. We also assist and shepherd them and really, in a way, replicate this service of the guidance offices in private schools. So we organize college course and career days so they can familiarize themselves with the course offerings of schools. Oftentimes, these students are just familiar with the basic courses like nursing, accounting, but schools have gone into management engineering, right, data science, and political economy, and all these courses are really new, and they don't really have an idea what these courses mean, and what are the jobs that you could get as a result of taking that course. No, we also give them inputs on future trends of work. We partner with the Ateneo High School to give them the career inventory exam. We inform them about the applications, and give them the choices of where they wish to apply among our partner schools, but not limited to them. And we conduct batch processing where the application fees for our partner schools are already waived. So, it already gets, one foot in the door. And here is the part where we spend much more time with the students. It's really in mentoring. It's really in accompanying them. So if preparing and assisting, we usually do this at the grade 12 level. Mentoring is from grade 12 all the way till they graduate from college. And actually, even as alumni, they still come back to us. No? And we're very happy to see them again. No? We understand that these kids have very few family resources. Some have even surpassed their parents' educational attainment and don't really have that many people who can help them navigate through the many decisions that they need to make about college, courses, finances, scholarships. No? Many of them don't think that they will fit in the university academically or even socially. Many are not prepared for college. They usually sign up for the courses that they feel are more lucrative, but may not really be aligned with what they really want to do, which of course can lead to poorer performance and actually increases their chance of failure. Many also feel great pressure to succeed and to perform, no? Whether this comes from parents or family or actually self-inflicted. So in Pathways, they go through an entire program that helps them become more aware of their strengths and build on them and overcome their weaknesses. We introduce them to the core values of discernment, integrity, excellence, and service to society. And we definitely introduce them to the growth mindset and how it is the love of learning and not the hunger for approval that should drive them and motivate them in their studies and in anything that they do. No, so this in a nutshell is what Pathways does over 5 years. No, we prepare them, we shepherd them through the college application and discernment process, actually, together with their families. And we really accompany them through their journey, through their 5-year journey to college. Um, because for us, what is maybe considered as regular problems can seem insurmountable for low income students. And without these support mechanisms, many of these low income students, no matter how motivated they were in high school, um, you know, without the academic and psychological preparation, will not be able to survive. I suppose these support mechanisms might not be new to you. Some of you might already be doing this, or you might even be doing all of it. I think what makes the Pathways experience unique is because of the culture and the environment that we consciously try to create. No, all of this is done in a caring community. No, um, there's an Ignatian principle that the Jesuits, which of course Pathways being an Ateneo program, has also imbibed. It's called cura personalis, or care for the whole person. This basically means that we're not just focused on getting them to succeed academically, but we're really concerned about their overall holistic success. No? We're also nurturing not just their minds, but their hearts and their hands, no, to help these students see themselves not only as persons who can help their families, but also as persons, as agents of change, no, who can help a great many others as well. So this is deeply embedded in our organizational DNA. This principle helps us develop our empathy more so that we can better understand their situation. It helps us adapt quicker to evaluate and develop programs that can better address their needs, as these needs shift, like now, and you'll see this a little later in the pictures I'll share. No, so it's really seeing our students in their totality, not just how they're performing academically, but all these other aspects that do impact and affect their academic performance, right? If they have a personal challenge or a financial challenge for that matter, it does affect them, right? And it in it increases their chance of failure, which is what we want to reduce. So we try to build a caring and supportive community where we act like an extended family. We're called ate and kuya, not ma'am and sir. This is the place where they can find peers who share the same dreams and aspirations, but who also share the same pressures, no, and problems. Many times, these are the kids in school who are looked up to. Sometimes they are smart, how smart shamed. So, sobrang galing naman, di ba? And things like that. They know that they can come to us for advice or even just to vent, and that they will not be judged. No, it's a community they know that involves their parents, their guardians, volunteers, mentors, no, and that all of us are here committed to see them succeed in life, no. And it is a community where reflection and metacognition is highly encouraged, uh, so that they can discern more properly. No, in this very complicated VUCA world already, this spells the difference for our participants. So these are some of the pictures, of course, prior to 2020, when face-to-face was still possible. So these are the college review classes that we partnered with the Loyola Student Center, and where we have student volunteers that help from the Ateneo that help. No, these are the interview skills training done with Tanghalang Ateneo and their alumni group, the Role Players Inc. This is our college course and career day, where we invite professionals from industries to talk about what it's like in their professions, what courses did they take up. And in the more recent years, as what you can see in the picture, we've already have a deep bench from our alumni, and so that's where we get our resource persons, because we already have doctors, we have a lawyer, we have teachers, bankers, engineers. No, so that has been a source of pride for us. These are some of the pictures from the workshops that happen, where we introduce to them the ideas of self-awareness, mindfulness, self-efficacy, and of course, mentoring done with staff as well as with other grown-ups, no, professionals from industries who can give them a different perspective as well. No? So what I've shared with you today is really a result of trial and error that we've done over the years. When we started, and I think up to today, no one is really working in this area of bridging high school students to good universities. There was no model that we could copy or even check. Oh, what were they doing and how can we do it better? There was no path, so to speak. We had to chart our own path, commit the mistakes and learn from them and come up what we now think is a more targeted and focused approach. I guess it's just a happy coincidence that when we now read the literature, it seems to confirm that we're on the right track. So pathways in 2020, no? As we all know, face-to-face was not possible. And so we in March when this happened, the college results were just about to come in. They were slowly coming in, no, for our incoming college students, and we had the year planned out already. What events we had to do, and all of them, just kind of got thrown up in the air, and we had to figure out very quickly how to do this, given the constraints. No, so one of the first things we did was sort of translate our college course and career day into an online tanungan with ate and kuya. So this was done on Facebook. We had the Facebook group, and where we invited alumni. So these are actually all three of these resource persons, and many more. These are were alumni. No? So Janelle was from accounting, Jazz, and he talked about accounting because many of our kids still want to take accounting. We had a scholar from Miriam College talk about, okay, what's it like in an all-girls school? Because public school kids are used to the co-ed environment, and so they're like, oh, what's it like? And so Jazz was there to talk about that, and then Bianca, who was our interior design major in UP, she talked about how to get by in college with a very expensive course by working part-time. So this happened online and over actually a couple of weeks, about 3 weeks, I think. No, it also forced us, because we now knew that the new school year would be a virtual one, that we would need to prepare our students for that situation. And so we had to develop our first online course called Before You Click the Link. And it was done on a learning platform, Canvas, so they can already start getting used to it. This was done in August. And, it really talked about, grit and time management, and really how to, I guess, really guiding them on and preparing them for how to manage themselves in an online setting. No? And more recently, because obviously this situation takes its toll on anyone, us included, but more so for students who have already been vulnerable from the beginning. No? And we felt that we needed to do kamustahans with them. So we would have one-on-one check-ins with them, but we would also form them into little smaller groups, like the one in the picture. We have a group kamustahan and a learning circle. So this is the smaller group where they can come together and just talk about, oh, kamusta ka na? How is it in your school? How was online learning? Was it easy? Was it hard? How did you survive? What were your, what's your advice? But it also became our opportunity to talk about things like emotion regulation. Many of them, of course, they're still very young. And it is a very overwhelming situation. Still don't know how to handle it. And so they've been pushing it back, thinking, okay lang ako. But, through these learning circles, they get to realize, okay, I need to process myself, right? Because We don't want it to escalate into something something we might not be able to control later on, right? And then in February 2020, months before, we started working on the academy. No, in the past, we've already had academies, and this was done face to face, 7 days, live in Cavite, where they have industry professionals come and teach them about certain topics. In this case, project management. When this was being conceptualized, we were a little worried because it would be online. It would be now over actually a month instead of just 7 days. And we really weren't sure, no? But interestingly enough, this was one of the academies where we did not have a hard time asking people to sign up. 40 of them, quickly signed up, even if they were still, this was done alongside school. And even if they knew that it was going to be over a course of 4 weeks, they still signed up for it. And this is the picture of their graduation where they're already thanking their mentors. And the background actually says, I completed the online SPMA. No? And these are of course, there was a competition, and the first place winners were a group called Brandable, and their idea was how to help small businesses, gain a footing in this online selling place now, right? And that they realized small businesses would need an online presence, and their group proposed that they would offer that service of creating your brand, creating all the things that you need to have a virtual presence to enable you to also sell and earn online. No? So this is something that they proposed themselves, and they saw the skills that they had, and it won them first place. No, so they have bragging rights for that, because there's really not much of a prize that we can give to them right now. No, part of that support, and I said with Cura Personalis, is we realized that they lack they don't have gadgets. No, they don't have computers to go online, and so we also did. This is not part of the core services, but we did. We did a gadget campaign where we were able to source gadgets for the students most in need. And then, of course, when Ulysses happened, and many of our students are from Marikina and also flood-prone areas in Quezon City, we did a relief operations where actually it was the alumni who came together, to do the drive, to do the sorting, and actually the distribution. So most of the people in the picture are actually alumni already, and because they know what it was like to be in that situation, they were the first ones who could really relate to the current students situation. Okay, so I realized that many people might think grabe naman, no, ang spoiled naman, 'di ba? But for us, the harsh truth is that really our public school students lag behind by so much. No, private school students enjoy better classrooms, better learning environments, better learning resources overall. No, their parents send them to advanced classes, extracurricular programs. They get to travel, and all these result in a more developed self-confidence. No, they have parents, family, friends who can guide them through the whole process of college application and even charting careers. No, unfortunately, our public school students rarely have any of those. No, and it's really by sheer talent and hard work that they've managed to make it this far. Could they make it farther on sheer persistence alone? Yes, probably, but at what cost, right? If we're interested in their welfare and want to ensure that they survive, that they not just survive but really thrive, and with their mental health intact, And more importantly, so that they can still see themselves and see the value of being positive change agents for society, as opposed to just focusing on just helping their families alone. These additional support mechanisms are important, no? um and so these are some of the ways that they have exercised now. So um it's not for pathways, it's not complete if you just teach them about this, but we link them to opportunities where they're able to to put this into practice. And the academies are a good opportunity for that, because here they learn something and they're able to apply it to projects that have social impact, that are based on their advocacies, no? So for one academy, that group of students felt very strongly about e-waste, no, or electronic waste, and they, this is design thinking. So they develop prototypes on, how they can help reduce e-waste, no, in the world. Um, there's also an unintended consequence here, no, as a result of interacting with professionals and key executives, actually, from Fortune 500 companies and foreigners at that. Um, After the academy, we noticed that they have a stronger sense of self confidence, and also a stronger confidence in speaking in English, because they realize that it isn't all about the grammar. Most of these professionals are from Europe, so they're not, English is also not their first language. And so, after they realize, oo nga, no, it's not all about the grammar. As long as we understand each other, we're able to, communicate our thoughts. That's good enough, right? That's what communication is all about. And that has really been amazing to see, no? Another group tackled plastic pollution in the Philippines, and this time they worked with foreign students as well to collaborate on ideas and projects. No, this one were projects done when they were in high school. No, so these two groups were in high school, and um, one of them here, she would pass by the Lumad community near UP on her way home, and started getting bothered by, by their situation. And so she decided to organize an outreach program where they, looked for school supplies. They talked to companies, they raised funds, and they did an outreach where they also did um, uh, a session with the Lumad children. The other picture was a tutorial, an outreach program and a tutorial for street children naman. No? So you could see na iba-iba yung kanilang mga advocacies, but as early as high school, they already see themselves as change agents. No? We also link them internationally so that they're able to get internships abroad, or even attend conferences abroad to broaden their perspective. No, this guy here, Jericho, is interesting because so he met the CEO of one of our partner companies in an academy held here in the Philippines, and I think a year after he had the he had the chance to compete representing his school in Singapore, where that CEO was based. No, so he actually sent looked for him on Facebook, sent a private message saying, "Hey, I'm here in Singapore. Maybe you'd like to meet up." And that picture is actually of them meeting up. No, and for me, that's really a proud moment, because if you met Jericho, when he started out in grade 11 with us, he was super shy. And it's not typical of a Filipino student to just do that, right? Like ring up a CEO and say, "Hey, I'm in the area, would you like to meet?" And yet, he has now developed that confidence to just do that, and talk to this guy as an equal, not as as CEO and I'm this student, but really talking about IT stuff and tech stuff that I'm not too familiar with. So to date, we've graduated 13 batches, and we thought it was time for an external evaluation. In 2018, we commissioned the PSSP, Pambansang Samahan ng Psikolohiyang Pilipino, to evaluate our program. And they used the life story narratives to interview select alumni with key questions. The questions were, how do you see yourself before, during, and after the program? What do you think was Pathways' influence in your lives? What do you think is the identity of a Pathways graduate, and what components contributed to your development? And we're happy to share that, and two of our alumni are here to actually share later on, but the Pathways experience was transformative, that they now have adapted the continuous self-development. They have a strong sense of self-awareness. The growth mindset has now been ingrained, and that it was the summer school and the workshops and the supportive, caring environment that were most impactful in the alumni's lives. It was really the relationships that were created that were really valuable, no? And that continue to this day. I'm already ninang sa kasal for a lot of them, and I'm happy to be there for them for this new phase in their lives. So today I'm happy to have with me two of our alumni. One is from a younger batch, 20. He's from our batch, our 10th batch, and another one from our third batch. No? So I'll introduce them so they can share a little something about their experience, and you can continue to ask them questions in the Q&A as well. No? So Stephanie Teodoro is from our batch 3. She graduated with a bachelor in elementary education, specializing in early childhood education from our partner school, Assumption College. She's now a full-fledged teacher for more than 10 years. She's currently the art teacher and the head of the art department of Nord Anglia International School. She teaches all levels from year 1 to 11. And she's also authored a textbook, no, Achieving Creative Expressions and Skills in MAPE for grades 1 to 4, and was recently an art exhibitor in the Art in the Park last February. Daniel Benito, on the other hand, graduated with a degree in applied math, specializing in mathematical finance from the Ateneo de Manila University. He is also the valedictorian of Ateneo Batch 2016. He started out with Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas as systems analyst and is now consultant for the NEDA. And while he continues to teach part-time at the Ateneo Math Department. So I guess I'll give the floor to maybe Daniel to share a little about, I guess, maybe insights you have on Pathways.
Hello, good morning po.
Yeah.
Sige po. So, for my pleasant morning to everyone po. So, for my sharing po, siguro I'll share first specific things that I got from Pathways that helped me in my learners agency. Then, siguro share some insights that I can attest that Pathways continue to do such by when I volunteered in one of our recent events. Then finally, siguro some personal reflections or thoughts about the community of Pathways. Yun. Siguro first, yes, I really appreciated po the free entrance test review that Pathways gave me and Annie. Sobrang isa rin yung masayang summer na mag-review. Kasi on our own, hindi po rin namin talaga kaya magbayad para makapag review for the entrance test of the colleges. But Pathways gives more than academic support, and I would like to highlight siguro the non-academic support that I got from Pathways. Siguro self-serving bias, are you familiar po with that? This is one of the most unforgettable concepts that I learned during my first year in Annie and Pathways. One example from the camp that I still remember right now is during exams. It is self-serving bias if a student blames the teacher or the exam itself for getting a low score. Mahirap kasi talaga magbigay si prof, mahirap yung exam talaga. Even in reality, that person or student did not really make sufficient effort to study. So this is one of the early moments I think that Pathways is honing my agency, that I am accountable for my learning, and before I point my finger to other people, uh, I should also do some introspection first and check whether I could have done something first on my part. And another thing that I really appreciated with the Pathways po is the core values. Bawat camps namin, yung bawat GA, hindi mawawala na, hindi masasabi yan ni Ate Solvie. Before it was CLIS, I understand now may certain changes sa values, but yung CLIS stands for Commitment to Excellence, Love of Learning, Integrity, Solidarity, and Service to Society. Di ba? Kabisado pa. When things get messy and uncertain, having values as guiding principle really help. It becomes a foundation, a solid foundation for my decisions and thoughts. Minsan noon kapag tinatamad ako mag-aral, kahit yung simpleng pagpo-proofread ng papers, kapag naisip ko, hindi to a commitment to excellence. So somehow that gives me some push to work a little harder. And even after graduation, when I was working, there's some days in the work that I really don't feel working, but recalling service to society, that I must do my own share because especially I'm working in the government, that it is my duty to do my part because it is a service to the country. So there's like a mental dialogue in my mind that this is not this value, this is not this value. So for me, the values that the pathway shared is another push for me to be better and to do the right thing, even if I don't feel doing such. So this is some things that concrete ways that pathways help me develop my learning agency. I can go further, but due to the interest of time, siguro, yun na lang po muna. Maybe in the Q&A, I can share some more. And I can attest that Pathways continue to do this even in the online setting. The current participants of Pathways batches 14 to 16 are actually also my kids because naging kuya nila ako during their Annie summer. Some of them recently interviewed, last 2020, interviewed me for their project, for their online formation session. The topic, I guess, is about grit, a term coined by Miss Angela Duckworth, about passion and perseverance for a long-term and meaningful goals. So Pathways do continue to form leaders and responsible citizens among the participants through these online sessions. Then last Christmas also, I volunteered for the annual Pathways Paskuhan. And very Pathways, yung may breakout groups and you do reflections. And for that specific, since it's at the end of the year, they reflected on their struggles for 2020, what were their coping mechanisms, what were the different kinds of support they got. And for me, these kinds of activity are very critical because it really helps the participants become more aware of their values, affirms their strengths, or any positive attitude that they have. Some students share that naging maganda yung planning method nila, some develop persistence, persistency, perseverance throughout 2020, and yun, somehow there's also a sense of community kasi they shared common challenges or barriers that they experienced during 2020. And for me, this exercise of reflection, processing emotions that I got from Pathways, even when I was studying or part of the program, is very essential. Sobrang mahalaga po na marunong talaga tayong huminto at magbuni, proseso yung mga bagay na nangyayari sa paligid natin. Kasi sa tingin ko po kung hindi natin to gagawin, napakadaling tangayin tayo ng buhay at baka sa proseso, hindi tayo maghimalay na nabago na pala tayo sa parang hindi natin gusto. It's being more conscious of how we change rather than passively accepting all the factors affecting us. And siguro as a last point, one thing that I really appreciate with Pathways is having a community. There's a great comfort that knowing that I have a home or group where I can always run to whenever the world gets too tough. Just like Saturday, set up ng individual consultation with Ate Solvie about how I can navigate to a new position that I'm taking in a few months, given the other hats that I am wearing. And also 1 to 2 years ago, when I was thinking to leave VSP, I also seek guidance from Ate Solvie. Also, in the few years in my work, there were really moments that I doubted myself, my capability. But recalling my experiences in Annie and in Pathways, that I have ates and kuyas that believed in my ability somehow comforted me in those tough moments to make it through. So siguro to end po, Pathways is really a family, a home that reminds me that I am not alone in this journey, a community that reminds me of my gifts and inspires me to keep moving forward and share whatever I have to make this country a better one. Ayun. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Daniel, for that. Nakaka-proud naman, 'di ba? As a pasensya na. Syempre, I'm a proud mother hen. Steph?
Yun. Actually, parang na-summarize na nga ni Daniel yung mga experiences talaga eh. Pero I would just like to start the journey, my journey. Or hindi lang ako, siguro lahat nga kaming mga pathways participants up to now na alumni na. Pero talagang makikita sa amin yung mapuprove namin yung mga nagawa na ng pathway sa amin. Kasi naalala ko nung high school ako, tama yung sinabi ni Ate Solvie na yung worry namin is, paano kami makakapag-college? Paano kami papasok ng college? Anong dapat namin gawin? Parang unprepared kami. So, hindi namin alam kung anong mga dapat namin gawin, kung ano yung mga proseso namin dapat puntahan. So, talagang, it's our worry how to get into college. How do we really finish our studies when we are financially incapable? Diba? So, yun talaga yung worry ng lahat. Pero, by the time na dumating si Pathways, sobrang ang laki ng natulong niya. Hindi lang sa akin, pati rin sa family ko. Kasi hindi lang naman kaming mga students yung nabibigyan ng opportunity to really build our confidence and all of these things na mga kung anong pwede namin gawin para lang makasurvive. Pati yung family namin tinutulungan kasi meron din silang binibigay na mga seminars sa mga parents, which is really helpful din talaga. Kasi pati yung mga parents namin, nagiging bonded sila. Doon nagkakaroon din ng community. It's not just only the director or the staff and the participants, but also the parents are also involved in the Pathways community. So talagang sobrang doon pa lang makikita mo rin talaga kung paano binibuild ng Pathways yung participations, yung mga activities na ginagawa para sa lahat, hindi para sa individual persons lamang. So, nung time na yun, so nung high school ako, so parang okay, ang dami ko palang dapat na alamin, yung mga hindi mo alam na kunyari paano ka papasok, pero binibigay na ngayon ng pathways kasi nandiyan na yung mga training, yung mga paano ka mag-a-apply. So talagang hindi siya spoon feeding, pero talagang it's really a big help for us kasi nga wala kaming idea paano kami papasok eh. So parang kumbaga nung high school ka, nasa public school ka, parang tinuturo lang sa'yo, ipe-prepare ka, paano yung knowledge mo lang actually, pero yung skill hindi pa siya ganun ka, kumbaga kahinog eh. So kahinog yung mga skills na meron kami. So through the pathways, talagang dun ka talaga mai-equip, mape-prepare para paano ka pupunta sa college, ano yung mga experiences na pwede mong makuha pag nandun ka na. So talagang nung pagdating ko naman ng college, dun ko na-realize na nandito na tayo sa ibang chapter na naman ng buhay mo na okay, kailangan mong makipag-deal sa iba. Like ako, co-ed ako nung high school, tapos biglang all of a sudden, biglang nag-all girls ako na parang ako, paano ako makikipag-deal with them? So, ibang way naman siya. So, through the pathways, nagkakaroon ka lang, yung mga training, pati yung mga time and stress management, yung mga ganyan, paano ka makikipag-deal with your classmates or with your peers, something na ganyan. So, talagang malaki yung naging impact nun para makatulog din siya sa pagbibuild ng personality mo. Kaya tuloy, pagdating ng pagkalabas ko ng college, I would say that I am really prepared to face the society or all the challenges. Kasi na-build na yung confidence mo, na-build na yung pagiging leader mo. So alam mo na kung paano mo i-aatakihin yung mga magiging struggles mo sa labas ng pathways eh. Yun kasi yung talagang hindi naman talaga totally yung financial yung need siguro ng lahat eh. Maliban doon talaga yung internal aspect of us eh. Kasi yun talaga yung mas importante kaysa sa financial. Kasi without also that internal aspect, yung skill na pag-i-improvean or ano yung tawag doon, parang ibibigay sa'yo, hindi ka magiging ready din eh. Okay? So yun yung ano. Tapos ngayon, so since I'm working now, all of the core values, of course. Especially tumatak sa akin yung service to the society. Kasi sobrang yun yung needed. Yung hindi mo na kailangan sabihin sa sarili mo na, kailangan mo tumulong. Parang innate na sa'yo. Kasi even before, there's one program, if I'm not mistaken, we have this pay it forward. So, itong pay it forward, para kami nagtuturo din kami sa mga high school, public school students. And from that moment talaga sabi ko, meron talaga, we have a call na meron kaming dapat na gawin sa community, hindi lang titigil dito. Kaya up to now, even though I'm not teaching public school, but I am, pag gumagawa ako ng, let's say, ng book ko, or talagang nire-relate ko siya sa current condition with the public school. Kasi I know na kapag ako gumawa, magagamit din nila in the future. Or let's say, pag dito sa Marikina, if ever na, let's say, merong mga baha, ganyan, as much as possible, we try to make a little donations or something, parang gagawa ka ng maliit na bagay para lang makatulong sa iba kasi naranasan mo na rin kung ano yung pakiramdam ng mga taong yon. Even yung mga little things na kunyari may nanlilimos, even though hindi mo sila bigyan ng pera, bigyan mo lang sila ng small things like food, sobrang malaking tulong na yun eh. Hindi mo naman kailangan talaga gumawa ng malaking bagay para lang makatulong sa ibang tao. So, yun yung medyo talagang malaki yung impact sa akin, yung service to the society. Up to now, medyo minsan kapag nag-iisip ako, as a teacher, ano bang dapat kong gawin? Ano pa ba yung dapat kong ibigay? Alam kong meron pa ako maibibigay, pero up to what extent pa na pwede ko siyang maibahagi sa iba. Lalo-lalo na sa mga bata na tinuturuan ko. Na may iba nahihirapan, like kunyari may problema sila mentally, or not mentally, but I mean psychologically, or pagdating sa emotions, ano pang pwede mong maitulong sa kanila? Hindi lang naman ikaw yung nagtuturo ka lang para lang sabihin sa kanila na, ito yung gawin mo, ito yung dapat mong tapusin. Hindi ganun eh. Meron pa, beyond doon, para kang nagiging parent eh. So, yun, parang sa Solvie, parang sa amin, siya na yung, mother hen nga namin siya. Siya yung talagang mother namin na pag nag-succeed kami, happy siya. Ganon din ako pag nag-succeed yung mga estudyante ko, pag nakikita ko silang masaya, masaya na rin ako. Hindi siya katumbas ng kahit anong bagay eh, na kahit anong material na bagay eh. So talagang, with all of these things, talagang equip ako because of the pathways. Kaya sobrang thankful ako talaga with the pathways. Kung bakit nandito ako ngayon, naging dahilan sila kung bakit na-achieve ko yung mga ganitong little things na meron ako ngayon.
Yeah. Nax, it's really my first time to hear them talk this way. I they never tell me these things. I guess, like a parent talaga, they really don't. So nakakataba talaga ng puso, no? So thank you for sharing. I guess just to summarize it, for me, again, it's really that for us, we felt that the Filipino student was already at risk even before 2020. And that scholarships are really not enough to solve the problem. Apart from finances, there's the academic, the attitude, and the access issues that we need to address. And the targeted support systems are really vital to ensure that high-achieving but low-income students really flourish. No? And as you can see here. And that really ends my presentation with these testimonials. And Rita, I turn it over to you.
Okay, I hope all of you will stay to, including Steph and Daniel. By the way, I haven't had the opportunity to welcome you to the show, and I'm so glad that you're here to share firsthand your experience. I know Solvie well because we work together, and I can see she's sort of tearing up because of your sharing. I can hear it in her voice. And so she's, I think, really, really proud. I saw her face as she was looking at the two of you sharing, and I can just imagine how she feels with all this work. Before I ask the questions, I just like to read to the three of you some of the comments that your sharing has inspired. Okay, so Annalyn Silverio said earlier on that she had some involvement with Pathways before, and anyway, she said she's glad to know that it's still around, and her insight is involving parents in the program is a really good way of empowering them, as we consider them really as our partners in the education of our young. Ma'am Regina Rose Regidor also shared that education is something you give or share without, I think this is during your sharing, Steph, about paying it forward, without expecting or anticipating anything from others. And she's saying this is very noble. So there are a lot of sharing about how inspiring they've become. There is one question from Ma'am Noemi Formaran. Thank you, Ms. Solvie, for sharing wonderful insights in inspiring students to succeed despite adversities. Can you and your Pathways participants share some more tips on how schools nurture alumni to become servant leaders, grounded and grateful? So she was talking about alumni. So I guess this is continuing the inspiration to serve. Would you have anything to say about that?
Maybe I'll let the alumni answer first.
Okay, it's a good question, no? Paano nga ba ngayon na alumni na kami, how do we become servant leaders or grounded and grateful? Kasi ako hindi ko masyadong, like, kunyari, if there are some opportunities, or let's say, yung parang pinagmamalaki, hindi ko kasi talaga tipo ng tao na gano'n, na talagang ipagkakalantaran ko. As much as possible, I want it to be like, yung parang normal lang. Everything is normal. Parang kung makilala ka, hindi makilala ka. Grateful ako pag gano'n. Tapos, yung servant leader, parang init na kasi sa iyo eh. Kung talagang meron kang concern sa ibang tao, hindi mo na talaga kailangan na sabihin sa iyo na ako'y tumulong ka. Siguro it's also because of the experiences that I had in my workplace, like in my first job, which is Colegio San Agustin, which is really I'm very grateful for that school wherein we really give what do you call this? We really serve other people. We give we help other people. There is also one organizations, I think, or there's one program that we have there na talagang every Saturday we have to give back to the community. Magdo-donate kami ng something, lalo na kapag may mga calamities, ganyan. So talagang parang dun pa lang meron na siyang nabibuild na rin sa sarili mo na ito kailangan mo na rin tumulong, hindi lang ikaw yung nagkakaroon ng problema. Naalala ko rin nung time na 2019, meron din bagyo noon. Tapos pati yung maski kaming mga teachers ay also affected. So within sa amin din, nagtutulungan na lang din kami. Maski ngayon, alam ko, kahit na may nasa new normal or meron tayong kinakaharap na problema ngayon, still nandun pa rin. Maski ngayon kung nasaan ako, kung nagtuturo, ganun pa rin. Kahit na nagkaroon tayo ng bagyo last year, hindi na sa akin sinabi na, kailangan mo tumulong. Parang it's really in me na talagang o kailangan ko nang gumawa ng paraan. So, siguro talaga yung pathways na value talagang nasa akin, na-incorporate talaga sa akin na hindi ko talaga siya hindi talaga siya mawala. So, kahit na tumutulong ako, hindi ko sinasabing palitan mo yan, may utang na loob ka sa akin. So, bahala ka. Kung ibabalik mo man siya, siguro mas better sa akin na ibalik mo na lang sa ibang tao. Talagang pay it forward. Talagang yun yung sa akin na tumatatak eh. Lagi kang mag-pay it forward. Kasi yung sobrang nakaka-create siya ng, yung parang dalawang tao lang tulungan mo, tapos yung dalawang tao yun, mag-create din ng panibago, no? So talagang malaki yung impact nun. Yun yung para sa akin. And I'm really grateful for everything na meron ako at na ibabahagi ko sa iba. Yun.
Daniel, would you like to say a few words too?
Siguro to add na lang din po sa sinabi ni Ate Steph, siguro kaya po nagiging ingrained din talaga sa amin yung values kasi siguro one, it does not happen overnight. Parang we went to a lot of workshops, camps, kahit mga yung may subtle ways, yung kahit GA nga, di ba? Parang nababanggit talaga siya to remind us of these values. And siguro one thing that I appreciate din in the style of Pathway, siguro kasi nag-volunteer din ako as facilitator. When we do activities kasi, we started first with what were our feelings after a certain activity. Kasi I think part siya ng pagiging nurturing that you acknowledge the feelings of the students. Kasi rather than saying na, mali yung ganitong feeling, ganyan. Parang siguro magaling si Patrick sa bakit mo na-feel yung ganyan. Then from there, you tend to realize something about the way you thought, about the way you think, or about the parang values that you have, and to challenge certain values na baka hindi okay, or to affirm certain values na tama. So, yung pag-process ng feelings. And siguro, from volunteer experiences din, nagiging mas mataas yung passion to serve talaga when you talk about after the experience, what were your learnings, tapos sharing also the reflections of your co-volunteers or co-participants in the case of Pathways. Somehow, pushes you din talaga na you're in a community and parang you inspire each other to be better din po talaga.
I know I'm not supposed to answer because I'm just the moderator. I'm supposed to field questions, but I'm so excited because I'm so inspired by everything you've shared. So Solvie, my feeling after hearing the three of you is that you've given these kids so much that they also have so much to give. Do you think it's that?
Yeah, actually, that was what I was going to add to ma'am. So first, obviously, we start them the minute they come to us. So like their first, they're from the first moment they're in Pathways all the way till the end. We do talk about this a lot, no? But more than that, I think it's because really it's the way it was done, no? So they talk about Annie, which is the summer school that is, run by Ateneo college students, no, who are just like a little older than them, and so they realized that in Pathways, all these people from the professionals who spend 7 days with them 24/7 to these college Ateneo college students, and in more recent times, college volunteers from everywhere spend a summer, no, with them, and really waste, quote unquote, waste time, and really just spend time with them. They realize that value, diba? Of someone just accompanying them through this without getting anything in return, right? There's no payment or anything, and because of that generosity, I feel, diba, they're filled with that generosity, and so they have a strong sense talaga of wanting to also give back. So even in high school, like Daniel, became the principal of that same summer school that he was a part of. Kasi nga, very strong na yung giving back nila. And they mentioned really the volunteer opportunities. We really try to link them to opportunities where they can volunteer and eventually even head and lead, projects. So that they can really see that as early as now, we tell them, you don't have to wait till you're like Manny Pangilinan level to pay it forward, right? As early as now, marami kayong maiimbag as students and now as young professionals as well.
I think the next question is from Gelwin So. Kindly give tips on how we can start planting the seeds for these wonderful values in younger learners. And I think this is a very good question because what I was thinking when you were sharing was imagine all that you have done for these students who grew up with so many challenges. And I'm wondering, there might be some private school students who don't even get these in spite of, the resources available to them. So for the listeners out there, how are you doing this for your students? But let me turn it over to our three speakers. What do you think about planting these seeds in the very young, in school, I guess, for junior high or elementary? What are some ideas you have?
Steph, you handle grades 1 to 11. How do you think
Um,
you can?
we sometimes give a talk or like kasi the usual one that we have in school, we meron kaming parang extra since nga online, we have this extra talk wherein we tell them the different like time management, stress management, or like community service, something that yung mga ganong simpleng talk na yun nga, napoprocess namin din sila, paano sila give back to the community. So, yun, I think, isang way to really build the values of the kids. And also through yung kapag meron kayong one-on-one session with the kids, sometimes kasi meron ako na-encounter, they ask you something like, how do you go about a certain problem, ganyan. So, through that, nabibigyan mo na rin sila ng ano yung values na meron ka, parang natatransfer mo na rin sa iba. So, parang, it's a small thing, pero tingin ko, madali mas matututunan nila ng maigi. Like kunwari sa amin, kung nakukuha namin yun hindi lang dahil dun sa love and care and what the teachers or the volunteers are giving it to us. Nakukuha din namin siya kasi with the peers na meron kami, paano kami makikipag-deal with others. So may mga makukuha ka, minsan siguro tingin natin kalokohan, pero kung marirealize natin, no, para siyang talagang, oo nga, ito pala yung values ko na in the end, nagagamit ko na pala. So, ganun din sa mga bata na natuturuan namin through the talk, through one-on-one conversation, or nai-instill na rin sa kanila kahit paano yung values.
So parang I'm using Solvie's talk to sort of give a framework to what Steph is saying, and you were saying kultura, no? Nasa kultura ninyo. So parang, I guess that's one tip that we can give Miss Gailwin is how do you build it into the culture? But but Solvie also said targeted intervention. So that's what you were saying about talks and etc. Because you have to be very purposeful. Tama ba yon, Daniel? What do you think?
Is agree po sa ideas po na share nila. Then siguro to couple na lang din or to go with the talk, baka maganda din may mga specific activities, lalo na kung mga young learners, mas gusto nila may gagawin sila, parang may gagalaw-galaw sila. So, minsan kasi may mga activities din. Siguro baka maging mas creative lang ngayon dahil online. Pero maybe we can give them some worksheets that they can work on to help them realize kunyari paano sila time management. May ganun kami activity before sa isang camp, no? Parang i-budget namin yung time namin, ano yung mga ginagawa namin per time, tapos marirealize namin na parang hindi yata wise sa use of time namin. Yung mga ganun pong specific activities to help them realize certain actions or processes they are going through.
Yeah. Solvie?
Yeah, I think they said it all. It's really learning by doing. So one is we model it. That I think that's very important because especially with the kids today, you get your credibility if they see you also modeling what you want to teach. Because you can't be telling them this and they see you doing something else. Nako, sira ang credibility natin. And also using anything as a teachable moment to reinforce what is it that you want to learn, whether it's gratefulness or whether it is ito nga no paying it forward. There are ways to use whatever situation you're in to make it a teachable moment, both on the formal and the informal side of things.
Okay, we have a question from Ruben Masiclat Rodriguez. I'm very inspired listening to your words of wisdom, Ma'am Solvie. May I ask, what certain advice can we give not only to our learners, but especially to the parents to keep their children attending school and realize how important education is?
Oh, wow. Well, for me, I think that's easy because there's really nothing that gives a higher rate of return than education. I mean, uh, our kids are in school for, how many years na ba now? 12 plus, plus 4, no? So 16 years at the minimum. But after that, yung balik doon sa individual, di ba? In terms of how he is now able to support himself, support his family, now contribute to society in terms of kahit na yung basic lang, which is paying taxes, di ba? And now, ito na, no? Like these kids, the impact that they're creating, creating textbooks, now working in government, and Daniel has other projects on the side. He's thinking of helping a nonprofit as well, no? So, 'di ba, yung impact ang laki. So, um, nothing like education gives a higher rate of return. And second, because the world is getting more complicated. The kinds of skill that will be required moving forward are parang mas higher level na, kaya mas importante nang mag-invest sa education kasi 'di ba ngayon pinag-uusapan na yung data science, artificial intelligence. We don't even know what the kinds of work will be in the future. Hindi na to yung dekahon na accountant, banker, ganyan. Talagang magiging ibang-iba na yung mundo, no, moving forward. And so mas kailangan ng mga bata ma-equip ng yung sinasabing 21st century skills, no, the critical thinking, how to collaborate, 'di ba? How to reflect and really analyze, no? How to adapt. These things are also learned in school. So it is if I were to talk to parents, I will try to give them an idea of what now the future will be like. It's already starting to happen now, and that it is far more important to keep their children in school to get a fighting chance at a better future.
I guess, Ruwen, it's also to add to what they've said is, and Sana, if you can tell your parents that, and our school is here to do what Pathways is doing, we will support you. We will support the students and the parents. No, I guess, there are so many questions here about how do I register. I guess they mean to Pathways, so they're interested. But if Pathways can't be for every school in the Philippines, so I guess the listeners are being challenged. Maybe that's why you're here today, because you were going to provide this somehow, even not to the extent that Pathways has done it. I'd really like to just end with two quick questions, one for Daniel and one for Steph. Kasi hinihimay ko, ang dami kasing insights na shinare ni Solvie. Kasalanan mo to, Solvie. Ang galing-galing. The whole program. Anyway, so one is, because learner agency, Daniel mentioned self-serving bias, and I think that's a very powerful concept for learner agency. Can you tell our listeners a little more? I know you already gave an example, but how did Pathways teach you this, and what is it, and how did Pathways teach you this?
Siguro, kasi during any summer po, parang aside from the usual academic math, science, English, we have an enrichment class talaga. And that's the part where they teach this type of ideas po. So then it was repeated during the camps po, na parang weekend camps. So one is, I think, hindi siya tinuro lang in one time, tas okay na. So there's really value in repetition, I think, to make it more effective. To parang talagang tumatak sa mga students po. Then yun siguro to, in addition na lang pong example, siguro pa ng self-serving bias, maybe siguro in work, parang yun, specifically nung nag-work ako after a few years, parang there's really some moments that I can really point to my boss, to my colleagues, or to my other, to the situation of our department that make can make me feel bad, or parang sisihin na lang sila bakit hindi maging parang ako ganun ka okay. Pero eventually, parang turning or having some introspection nga, and making me more aware na it is really always not about them, pero can on my own I can do certain parts that can make my situation a little better. Yun, somehow it helped me make it through those tough moments. Then siguro addition yun na lang po muna siguro.
So I think, ladies and gentlemen, because that's one good example they gave of a very targeted intervention that developed agency, because now it's a habit of their students to try and not blame others and be accountable on your own. One more question for Steph. You mentioned they have given us so much support but did not spoon feed. Can you just explain a little more?
Yun, kasi sa dami nga po, di ba, na parang binibigay ng pathway. So parang lumalabas na kami ay nasuspoiled ni Ate Solvie with all of this activity. Hindi naman siya totally spoiled eh. Parang those activities will really help you to prepare you, and not just to help, but to prepare you in the future. Pag lumabas ka na, hindi lang sa college, pati na rin sa outside world. So kasi iba na yung mga challenges pagdating sa outside world eh. Kung college, more on theoretical ka, more on medyo idealistic ka pa. In reality, all of these things will not be put into action. Parang more on experience na yung mangyayari. Yun na yung mga mabavalue mo. So ngayon, with all of the trainings that you've got from pathways, dun mo na siya actually maia-apply eh. Dun sa pinaka, kung nasaan ka na kumikilos, kung saan ka na gumagalaw.
Tama.
Kaya hindi siya yung talagang masasabi mo na spoon feeding siya na, binigay yan sa'yo kasi okay ka na, kaya mo yan. Hindi siya ganun eh. Talagang, it's really a program that will really prepare you in the future.
So they didn't do it for you, no? They expect
Yes.
you, they just equipped you.
Yes po.
Parang ganon, no?
The
They
pathways really equipped you. Yes.
But you're supposed to do it on your own and pay it forward, no?
Yes po.
Galing.
Lahat pa rin po manggagaling sa amin eh. Hindi pa rin po sa pathways. Hindi sasabihin ng pathways na ito dapat gawin mo. Ito dapat ang sundin mo. Hindi ganun eh. It's your own strategy now on how will you apply all these things in reality. Ganun na siya. Kaya po ngayon kami, nakaka-survive kami. We know already how to handle things on our own, how to really decide, right? Then tinitignan din namin yung mga pros and cons kasi all of these things natuturo din siya sa amin ng pathways, and it's really helpful. Hindi siguro kami magiging I don't know if we are already successful, but yes, we are in a successful in a way in our profession. Without siguro itong mga binigay nga ng pathways, without all of the knowledge and all of these activities and all of these programs na provide nila sa amin.
Okay. It's sad that we're already at 11:30, but are there any last words that you would like to leave our listeners and viewers with?
I think for me, maybe just to add to the services versus spoon feeding, I think what Pathways is really just trying to do is add to the tools that, to the toolkit, the life toolkit that these students have. Kasi madiskarte na sila, pero syempre kulang. I mean, how do you expect a 16-year-old, to really navigate na siya lang, di ba? Parang, for all of us who are parents or who have younger siblings, we know na kailangan pa ng guidance, di ba? So I think that's what we do in Pathways. We try to expand that life toolkit so that they have these tools and know how to use it, so that, when the situation arises, they know which tool they can pull out to use, to help them through that hurdle or through that situation.
Okay. Daniel and then Steph, just some things to remember about this topic.
Siguro I think po, one of the best gifts that we can
Maybe we can do Steph first, while I think we've lost Daniel for a while.
Siguro, be grateful with what we have, and always tumapak lang po tayo sa ground. Huwag tayong lumaki yung ulo. So, I mean, the Pathways is really an organization. There's an organization pa pala, no, na merong talagang makapag-fulfill ng goals ng mga bata na tulad namin, na dati nangangarap lang, na dati na sana sinasabi lang namin sa sarili namin makakapagtapos pa kami. So, huwag tayong mawalan ng pag-asa.
Okay.
There's always a hope. And there's always be a person who will always help us. Siguro, right timing, hindi natin alam kung kailan, pero alam ko darating din yun. Yun po.
I think we have Daniel back. Yes.
Hello, sorry.
That's okay.
I guess siguro yung last words na lang would be, I think that the best gift that we can give to our learners is the gift of companionship nga po, gaya po na na-raise din kanina. During these difficult situations, ang hirap mag-navigate talaga when you're feeling alone. But knowing that in the process, you have parang ates, kuyas, teachers, parents na who will guide the students along the way. Somehow, that gives them some boost to give their best in whatever challenges they're facing.
Okay, so imagine you're being left with these last words of give your students a life toolkit, always give them hope, always give them the companionship they need. And thank you very much, Solvie, Steph, and Daniel, for inspiring our teachers listening to develop agency in their own students, maybe in their own lives, because they see how possible that it is possible to become very joyful, lifelong learners who have already achieved a lot. And I'm very sure you will still have other dreams that you will pursue. And Pathways has given you the life toolkit for. So thank you very much. And I hope that this episode, it inspired me a lot. And from the Facebook, please, the three of you, you have to look at the Facebook. There's so many people who have been inspired by the talk today. So thank you very much. And we hope to see you on Saturday for our next episode, and the recording of the video can be found on the Rex Bookstore Facebook page and on the SALT Facebook page. Please, there is a pinned evaluation form. Make sure you answer it so that you get your certificate. Thank you again, and have a good day, everyone.
Yes. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you
Have a good
po.
weekend.
Thank you
You
po.
too. Happy weekend.
Steph, Daniel, thank you.
Thank you
Thank you,
po.
Ate Solvie. Thank you, Miss
Solvie.
Rita.
Thank you
Hello,
po,
Ate
Miss
Steph.
Rita.
Okay na?